Any old time? All right, people, we're going in.
All right.
As Sally Kay just say, yeah, put a hat on a hat. Like, really, Louie, on the last day, like you have to do this?
Dr. Louie on the set.
Yeah, exactly. So look, thank you all for being here. I'm going to apologize up front that I'm using you as a guinea pig to prove that I really don't need to write the book, that it's actually not that interesting what I'm about to do.
Good luck.
It's not that interesting. However, there have been people who want me to write this book. Okay, there've been 2 or 3, but you know, I don't know how. So I asked Matt if he would film this just in case I might say something, or you all would ask a great question that I could actually say something that might be worth writing down. But I've tried to write it and I don't know how to show the process. So what I am going to demonstrate very quickly today, because I have double booked myself. I have to be on the Upper West Side by 11:30. Sure. But I want to present an idea to you and one way of how to actualize the idea. The idea is this, pure and simply. Plays in this form that we get on the first day of rehearsal are blueprints for performance, right? And our job is to translate the conventions inscribed in this into 3 dimensions of our day, right? That's our job as theater artists. This is not sequential, you know, right? It's not. It goes up and down, and I grew very frustrated as a literary manager, wanting to know, like, how do the proportions of a play feel? I'm of a certain age where half of my life I read all those well-made plays of the middle 20th century, right? That were all based on literary analysis, and that is how you determine what a good play was. And suddenly we were writing plays with new forms and new stories and new content. And I was like, I don't know how to assess a video that gets written in a stage direction. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know how to assess that. I know how to assess a long conversation between 2 people, right? And I can say, ooh, it loops around, but I couldn't. I couldn't use anything I had been taught to trained to assess these works. And my job as literary manager was that I was the gatekeeper. So I thought, So I kind of went back to some of my earlier roots and my interest in semiotics, which is the symbol, signs and symbols and like what they all mean. And back to an early play analysis, old-fashioned play analysis, based on Mr. Aristotle, who in the late 80s was a very unpopular person. And I remember the moment when my colleagues in a playwriting class said, no more structure. There is no such thing as structure. There is no such thing as form. And I thought, oh my God, I am going to be out of the world for 30 years because I believe there is structure. Plays are a defined event. There is a beginning and there is an end. Sometimes you think they may not ever end. We've all been in those plays. But I wanted to know what they're made of in hopes that what they are made of, the components that they're made of, I could figure out a way how to translate them into full body, right? So that's kind of how this all evolved. There was a guy in the mid-19th century, a German literary theorist named Gustav Freytag, and he looked at all the Shakespeare plays and he looked at all the Greek plays that at that time had been translated, and he said, oh my goodness, they all kind of have the same kind of form to them. And he came up with this kind of pyramid thing, which was taught up and through my youth, perhaps not in your time. And it's gone out of favor for lots of reasons. And I'm going to revive it a little bit today. But not to say that's the only kind of visual form that you could have. It's just the one that I use, right? I want a roadmap. I want to know what's happening in the events that I'm not in as an actor. And then as for the director, I want to know what are the things I have to absolutely address and contain. I'm also trying to protect the play, honestly. It's not a great way to write a play. I'm not recommending that. But this is really designed for actors, designers, and directors. this exercise. Because if you know what the heck the play is and how it works, I think you can protect yourself from directors and designers, actors. I'll just say that this is really designed for you all to protect yourself. And I want this to be something that you would use as prep in rehearsal and is also during the run of a show. Barzan Akavan will talk a lot about how he used the map of Troilus and Cressida all the way through that run, that he just would be reminded what are the rails that he has to ride that day. And it's in a visual form. So I happen to be a visual thinker, so that's how this all came about, right? Okay. So Aristotle said, hey, I can describe anything. And this is all kind of based on art history, art aesthetics as well, right? I can describe anything. Any play can be described with 6 different pieces. Plot, character, theme, what are they? Diction, music, spectacle, right? Spectacle is at the bottom. And that may be because the Greek theater at the time was not full of spectacle, but we certainly have flipped it on its head to a certain degree that we have a lot of spectacle. It doesn't matter about the component in terms of, I wanted to know the proportion of them. I wanted to know what they are made of, right? My definition of a classic play might be that 90% of it is oral delivery information. So there's a lot of classic plays that are being written now. And maybe a contemporary play is like 60% oral, right? I don't know. But that's an interesting piece of information to know, like, what's your job. And in the film, you don't have very much talk at all. So you got to really maximize that, right? I don't think human communication is that you should be listening to every word I'm saying. I'm going to talk really fast pretty soon as I get really ramped up. And you're going to hit kind of highlights of things, but I think that's exactly what plays are replicating. I think that theater is the closest art form to the human experience. There are a lot of other art forms that use pieces and parts of, but partly because it is mostly me talking to you, and it's a durational event, which is a lot like life. Aristotle was also a botanist by trade, and he talked a lot about how plays replicated the life experience, and in this way. Think about the beginning of a play as the seed of a rose. The rose grows and it blooms, and then it fades, which is the life cycle. Some people talk about the golden ratio, meaning 2/3, 1/3-ish. It's kind of what it breaks down to, but not really. And that is sort of a harmonic form. All the Greek temples are based on the golden ratio. So harmony is something that we all as people head toward, usually, right? Does that make it beautiful or good? I don't know the answer to that. It's just interesting if that's the rhythm of it, okay? So it's just interesting to know what these things are all made up of. And there are facts. And this started to be like, I wanted to say to a playwright, here's the fact of your play. Here is what it looks like if you like roll it out sequentially in kind of a map. And here's why I'm starting to fall asleep in the second half. Because I could say I'm falling asleep in the second act, and it was like, well, I'm defending my right to, like, yeah, that's fine. However, here's why. Here are the facts, and often facts are really useful to open up our eyes to see things, right? Shakespeare is really very useful for many reasons because it's segmented and line numbers. I want to know proportion of things, right? So today we're just going to march our way through Macbeth, which I hope most of you know. And we're just going to lay down the facts, and then I'm going to read the tea leaves for you and to show you how I would read the map. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Got it so far? Okay. I think that's about all I wanted to say at the beginning. We'll see. So what you're looking at, if you can see it all, is like the overall map of Macbeth, right? And whatever the argument you want to make about how the segmentation came out, there are 5 acts that we kind of know about. Like, what are they about? I don't know. If you look at them, they all kind of look about the same. You're like, okay, that's all very, very interesting, right? So that's just a starter.
Is that like proportional to word count or something?
Yes, to line count. Numbers, yes. I've done it with page numbers on plays and other ways too. It's just to get a proportional sense. Right? And it's give or take, whatever, but it's generally about right in terms of the proportion of it, okay? And so we're going to start at the beginning and we're going to kind of move our way through, all right? So it's very interesting to sort of look at it segmented. Sometimes it's useful information. There's 7 scenes in the first act. There's 4, and then whatever at 6, and then there's blah blah blah, and then there's 9 at the end. Oh my God, I'm an actor in Macbeth. There's 9 scenes in the 5th act. What does that mean? That means go to the gym, people, because there's going to be a lot that happens, and they're really short. Like, oh my God, done. I mean, right? I think a director's job is to honor the rhythm of the play. And so one of the things about this that helps, I think, directors understand is kind of what to build toward and what to fade away from. Thinking about the rows again. Everything builds towards something and everything pulls away. Shakespeare's absolute master at this technique, among many others, but this is one. And he's also a master at incrementally building things. He's also a master at suspense. And good God, if you heard that reading of Winter's Tale last night, he's an awful great master at mystery, right? So how does he do it? I don't exactly know. It's not necessarily analyzable. However, there are facts that we all could agree upon as actors, directors, and designers before we enter the process. What I would love is that we as actors, directors, designers, and dramaturgs would do this exercise before design happened. I would like directors and designers to know what the play is before they decide to impose something on top of the play. One of the things we have learned these last 5 weeks is how funny Shakespeare is. I kind of always thought it was funny, but people are like, wow, it's really funny. Did you do something to Shakespeare? No, it's because it's structured. Drama, in its ancient Greek root, your dad would like this, means change. Simply, something must happen. And there must be a change from the beginning until the end. Again, Shakespeare is awesome about this. There is hardly a moment. He does not waste a moment of having change from the beginning to the end and everything in between as well, right? Look, I win the lottery tomorrow. I really do like my job an awful lot, but depending how much it is. It's got to be a couple $100 million maybe, but my life will have irrevocably changed, right? Our lives change on a moment. Drama dramatizes those moments. And I know we think that it's not believable when you see it on stage, but point fact is that is what happens. And almost always in Shakespeare, it happens on a word. Almost always. And if you can figure out where those words are, that are the hinge points of where something turns, I think that you then have a roadmap to figure out how you build to that moment and how you take away from that moment. I don't know, Olivia, if you heard me talking yesterday about the Tempest and the moment with Ariel and Prospero. And he says, would you believe this if you about the two, should I forgive them? Whatever that moment is. And she said, if I were human, I would, right? Boom. Play just irrevocably changed, right? Just irrevocably changed. So finding those moments and figuring out how to support them as actors, I think is really a good thing to do, right? Okay, so let's dive in. Everybody know Macbeth pretty well, right? Okay, so we start the play with the witches, right? Yes. Okay. And I'm going to forget the colors of things, but we're going to just do it, right? We start with the witches, and then where do we go? We go to the king, right? Yep. Duncan. I know this is really boring for about 20 minutes. I promise it'll make sense. It'll make sense in about 20 minutes. And as a matter of fact, can I get some volunteers to be things? Sure. Yeah. You want to be the witches? You want to be Duncan? You want to be Lady Macbeth? Do you want to help in, or are you just taking notes? Okay. Malcolm, Macduff. Who else do I need? Who else do we need?
Banquo.
Banquo, yes. And?
The king, Duncan.
No, we got a Duncan. We have Lady M. Well, maybe Lady Macduff. Okay.
That's going to be confusing.
What's that?
No. And I'm Duncan?
No, she's Duncan. You're Banquo.
Banquo, thank you.
Okay? So watch the way this goes back and forth. Right? One of the beautiful things about Winter's Tale last night is all one thing. He's holding one thing for a really long time, then he holds a second thing for a really long time, and then he weaves it together at the end. And that is masterful. But a lot of the other plays, like Midsummer, it's 4 weaves all the time, right? Just think about the energy of 4 weaves. How do you do that? How do you perform that? I don't know. They're different things. It's just it's built differently. That's all, right? So how do you enter already knowing what's happened in the scene before? It's like baton passing. Anybody ever run a relay race? There's a lot of that happening. And in contemporary American theater practice, we don't always have you in the room together anymore. So there's a lot you don't know about what's happened in the scene before. So you come in and I think, well, I'm going to start over from scratch because it's my character. It's like, no, actually. I hate to tell you that the actor is actually not that important. The character is not that important. The actor is very important, but the character is not, because it has to do with the collective storytelling. And you have to know what was said before to know where to start at that level, which is why I like a pyramid. I'll show you that more in a second. Okay, second scene is
The king.
King. Duncan, right? Outside, public scene, right? Yada yada yada, and information coming at us. And does anybody kind of remember what happens is like, we're going to Thana Cawdor, right?
Yeah.
Right? Think at the ends of scenes to get into the first part of the next scene. Happens all the time. He will lead us in to the next scene, right? Thana Cawdor's just been mentioned. It's like, okay, what's all that? We're getting all the names. Like, what's happened? We just had like all this thunderclap thing, whatever those 3 people were. Then all of a sudden we've got this guy who's like losing his oxygen, about to die because he's naming all these things. Names, Swano, like what? And suddenly we end some clarity with like, here is what's going to happen with Macbeth. It's going to be named Thane of Cawdor, right? Always enter every scene thinking it's one thing and exit thinking it's something else. These plays are built on contrast. That is what the change is. Always. There's always a different exit from how you enter. This is Shakespeare. Always, always, always. What makes them funny is when they're juxtaposed against each other really quickly, right? 'Twas a rough night. Oh, horror, 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 right? 2 funnies in a row, right? Think of repetition as well. We're going to have the same scale of things in the first half, and he's going to repeat it in the second half. It has to be different, just by rules of drama. It has to be different. You as actor have to figure out what that is. If you don't get any help from your director, you have to figure out what that is. You just do. Otherwise, the thing's going to be like, and I'm going to fall asleep. You don't want me to fall asleep, right? You want to keep it always on edge, right? Okay, so this is also kind of a public-y scene. So other things to think about, right? Public, private, day, night, everything you can think of, Shakespeare will contrast. Think of Romeo and Juliet. Begins in the daylight as a comedy, ends in the middle of the night as a tragedy. How does he get all of those characters and us to go from comedy to tragedy? And it's a great example because it's halfway through the play, and it's on the Death of Mercutio, who 3 times says, a plague on both your houses. And by the first one's funny, the second one's leading, you too, the third one, which is the tragedy just began. Where's the hinge in which everybody starts to fall into? That's what we're looking for, is the hinge, okay? That doesn't mean the climax of the play, it's just the hinge. It's the difference, okay? All right, what's that third scene? Back to witches, right? And Macbeth. Who's Macbeth? We don't have a Macbeth. That's telling. Yes. I think that's a big fat tell, isn't it? Macbeth and Banquo, right? Are you Banquo?
Banquo.
Brilliant. Macbeth and Banquo, okay. And witches, right? Starting the weave. We've just heard the name Macbeth and we've heard the name Banquo, right? It's really very clear like this. You think, oh, it can't possibly be. It's like, really, it is. Okay, great. Okay, and then what happens in it's a pretty good scene, right? This is the first one that's got some scale to it. So we'll have to like start showing that up. And then what happens in the fourth scene?
King comes back, right?
Sorry, say again?
King comes back and gives him the title, right?
Yeah, he goes to the king. Ross comes in at the end of this scene and says, hey, dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How can that be?
Right? Cawdor? Cawdor. right? Suddenly, like, oh my God, change. He's not Cawdor at the beginning of the scene. I mean, it's stupid, really, what I'm saying to you. I mean, like, it's not that hard, but you see what I'm doing. These are facts. The fact is, he's not called that at the beginning, and so it's a change. What does that do? You're playing Macbeth. You've got to show me what that means to you, right? He also has kind of a very interesting speech right at the end of the scene. Does anybody kind of remember what he says? Not yet, not yet, not yet. Yeah, thank you. Not yet. Sorry, my head. Okay, fourth scene is Duncan, right? Back to Duncan, right?
Oh yeah, is execution done?
Yeah, right. And then everybody else kind of falls in, right? We have a Malcolm.
Yeah.
Do we have a Malcolm?
Yeah.
We have a Macduff.
Yeah.
We have a Banquo and a Macbeth, right? Right. Okay. Here you are, 4.
No, I know that. I'm gonna be a MA.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I'll be an MD.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
I'm in here.
Yeah. Just throw yourself in there. It's all good. It's all good, right? Okay. Another kind of public scene. And what happens in this scene? He's told, he's like Thane, welcome Thane Cawdor, or whatever it is, right? And then what happens at the end of the scene? Malcolm.
He's mad.
And then what's the speech after that?
Stars, hide your fires, let not night see my black and deep desire.
Tell me it's Lady Macbeth's fault. Tell me it's Lady Macbeth's fault.
It's never her fault.
People forget. Here it is, right there. Boom, the play just started.
Yep.
The play just started. See what I mean?
Yep.
And boom, we got to go.
Yep.
Now, it's a very challenging play for a lot of reasons, and one may be that how fast it all happens, which is awesome and very filmic in our world, but it's also kind of it doesn't have any B plot. It's kind of its own thing, and you have to sort of keep it interesting all the way through. And you have to be really micro, scrolling through stuff to make sure you hit those moments. And then you're going to play with them and you're going to give them to somebody else. But you got to hit these moments. They're there. The roadmap is there. You have to honor it, right? And you hope that some stupid dramaturg doesn't cut that line. I don't think I cut that one. I've cut many of them, but I don't think I cut that one. Okay? The play just started. Okay? Boom. All right. 5th scene.
Diva entrance.
Right? So you've got an end in a way, and you start up again. Everything is the same. The minute you are at the height of something is the beginning of the end. The minute you state something, something else is going to happen. Last night at the talk back, Tracy Young said something about, like, I don't know what's going to happen with this project later. Next. And Dave said, this was just the launch. And I thought, oh my God, I need a nap. But it was kind of a beautiful life moment in that way, right? Once you end something, it's not the end, it's the beginning of something else, right? That is lifelike. It's going to happen all the way through this play.
It's the
All the way.
action of life.
Correct.
Everything leads.
Yes, but it's not an end to. You can't actually rest because it's the beginning of something else. So we've ended this, and boom, in comes Lady whatever her name is, Macbeth, right? And what's she doing? What says, hey, I met these people. But what else does it say? It's actually a fascinating letter.
Oh, it's that he's Cawdor.
My partner in greatness.
My partner in greatness.
But he's not Cawdor yet, right? She doesn't know that.
She doesn't know. Yeah, he might.
He
He might.
And Cawdor.
I think it said, but my partner in greatness.
Yeah.
Suddenly, whatever he said here, whatever is behind, which we sometimes change to ahead, the greatest is behind. Isn't that the line? Sometimes we say ahead because we don't get behind. We think behind is behind, when behind was ahead. Okay, so the greatness, and then we go to great, partner in greatness. They're just now linked. So they've talked about it, right? I'm not saying it's not, I mean, right? Suddenly they're linked together. Again, you got to like mine that, but there it is in language, right? Follow the word blood, follow the word deed, follow the word indeed, follow the word tomorrow. And I'll tell you, you can tell the whole play by following the word tomorrow. He's a master at leaving these crumbs along the way. Follow the word honor in Troilus and Cressida. And when honor leaves the stage is when Achilles kills Hector. Now, how do you help me know that? Because that would be really fun if I were like clued into that as an audience, like, ooh, right? I don't know yet, but if we kind of know something to work on to deliver to me, an audience, I don't know what happened, but I think it would be really awesome if I were made that aware, right? Okay, she comes in, then what happens? He comes in, right? Right, Macbeth comes in next. Yeah, there-ish, sure. Okay, great. They have a chit chat, and what happens in the chit chat? Anybody remember?
He says the king's coming.
Right, and she says, and what happens to him? What does he say? Hold on.
No.
Right? Right. I've got things to do. I'm gonna tell her. She says, and he goes, hold on. Different, right? Entering with something, exiting with something else. Doesn't necessarily in character, but the scene. You see what I'm getting at, right? Every one of these, it happens constantly. This is a great example, this particular play. Okay, what happens in scene 6? The king comes, yes. And what happens? And what's that little scene like? What's our sense of kingy?
It's a creepy, not welcome.
Like this, the siege.
Is there something about? And does Macbeth in this scene say something about he has? We're not going to do anything about this because he has.
New honor.
Is this new honored scene or is it the next one?
That's later.
It's later. Okay.
When he comes back, he says that.
Right. So this is our second entry of. We see Duncan, right?
She tells him to show a false face, and then he leaves and doesn't show her.
Yeah, because he can't. Maybe.
She
I don't know.
shows a false face.
Right. And she comes, says, we got things going, right? Lady. Okay. And then 7. What is 7? Are you going to? Yeah.
She's in there.
Yeah. What happens in 7? What happens at the end of this first act?
It's Macbeth's first soliloquy.
If it were done,
If it were done when 'tis done.
before she comes in from dinner.
This is the banquety thing, post-banquety thing?
Yeah, like in the middle of dinner.
show.
Dinner.
Yeah, things are happening fast, right? Yes.
They have words.
Is this the, if you had to have done, is this
Yeah.
no, unsex me is here,
If
right?
you were
No.
That's
Unsex
show a
is there.
false face, and the next one is if you were a man, you would have done it.
Yeah.
But he has the if it were done speech?
Yeah, and she walks
Yeah.
in.
And he talks himself out of doing it, right? So we
Yes.
enter the scene, and actually the whole speech is, should I do it? No, I'm not going to do it,
And then was the hope.
right?
Yes.
Began somewhere, ended somewhere else.
Right.
Where's the hinge in that speech? That's up to you to decide, but there's a hinge. You got to play the hinge, right? So that I go, oh, he just worked something through, right? She comes in and says, what? Hey, dude. Right, the minute you said, I'm not doing it, why didn't you do it? Now that's funny. Okay. All right, right? Is that what's happening here?
Yes.
Okay. And then how does the scene end?
He's gonna do it. Right.
He has changed his mind.
I am settled and bend up each corporal agent to this terrible feat.
He
Away
agrees.
in
Is this bring men, children only moment?
Yes.
Oh boy, right. Okay, so we start with witches and we end with men, children. I don't know what that means exactly, but it's different.
Interesting.
Okay? All right, so there's the first act. That's pretty action-packed. Is this interesting? Are we doing okay so far? Okay, good. Okay, good.
And it's showing a kind of organic thing that you were talking about.
Yes. Yes, it's very organic. It's surprisingly organic. All right, let's jump into this like icky second act. What's happening here? 2-1.
Banquo and Fleance.
Oh, yeah. Do we have a Fleance? Here, can somebody be Fleance? Yes? You can be Fleance.
The role you were born to play. And then Macbeth comes into that, right? He like walks on stage and.
This is this is the,
They're out for a
They're like
walk.
out for a
and
they're out for a walk
This
and,
is the murder scene?
no,
No, it's just the
this is just the I'm on my way to murder scene. Right? This is the I'm on my way to murder scene.
Macbeth says, how long are you going to be gone?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Yeah, is this the scene, like, something feels different, take my sword and take this dagger.
Yes.
And then he gets
Suddenly,
just in case.
suddenly, right? We had this, where were we? Oh, how pleasant this place is.
Right.
Guess what? Not so pleasant now,
Now the moon is down and we haven't.
right? We got to play not so pleasant now. Don't know what that means,
The
but
bad
The
weather,
sky is ominous.
ominous weather.
yeah, or something, sure. But it's like, ooh, this is great. Look how fun this place is.
Well, that's true. It goes from the martlet and the sweet
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
and
Yes.
to a darkening world.
Not that far apart, right? This is happening everything changed, right? Change. Everything you can. What?
Banco was talking about Macbeth was promised these things. What
No,
was
not
it
yet.
about?
I don't think yet. I think later, right? This is just this little interesting, right? As Macbeth's on his way to bop off Duncan. Isn't that what this is?
Sweet flavor.
Yes, and promising on.
And is it inside or outside?
Outside.
Outside.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
they're gonna go for a walk. They are
Okay. What's scene 2 then?
Wait, what, doesn't Macbeth see a dagger?
Yeah, where's that?
This is here,
I think it's here.
Where is he seeing that damn dagger?
right here, at the end of.
All right. See, isn't this fun?
Is this a
Okay.
dagger, which I see? It is.
What color is that dagger?
And then it's the murder.
How goes the? Oh yeah, this is the dagger. Okay. Right.
And then
This
the
is
end
2-1,
was
right?
down. At the beginning, the clock hadn't been heard. At the
They
end
are
of
in.
that scene,
I'm sorry. They are inside the house, people. They are not outside.
They're not outside.
No, I'm telling you, they're inside. Okay. And guess what he says in this speech? Hecate. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen with her? She's going to show up here. She's been set up. Huh, right? Everybody forgets about Hecate. Okay, we'll keep going on. All right, quarter of the way through the play. Here we are. I'm going to do it, right? Brilliant. Okay, so what's scene 2?
The same.
Lady M comes in.
We're, same. Is this the pre-murder?
Yeah.
Lady,
I made him drunk, maybe they die.
No, we did
that
that.
which hath made me drunk.
After he sees.
Make them drunk.
But first, is this a dagger?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there.
The end of.
That's the end of 1, right? So 2 is she comes in,
I drugged their closet.
but she has her little moment, right? Like she has her little moment, he has his moment, and then he goes off to do the damn thing. Did we hear the bell or whatever the hell it is? Is there's a bell?
The crickets and the
And then late, right? And then she's like, "Whoa, I'm all." And then what happens? He comes back,
Comes in, yeah.
right? Macbeth back in,
yeah.
and they have their little moment. So he does the deed. He comes back, terrified that he did the deed. Again, change. This one's easy in a way, right? It's like, "Oops, I shouldn't have done that. That didn't feel good." Right? Yeah. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Okay. Right?
That's the murder. So
This is the murder. This is right, isn't it? Right here, they're
Can you
murdering.
mark that? Just is it relevant to mark it that that's where the murder was?
Could be. We'll see. Murder.
So,
Murder most foul.
Foul.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then what happens in scene 3?
Macduff comes in, right? Screaming. Oh,
the porter.
The porter.
We got a little bit of Porter action. Oh yeah, yeah.
The end of comedy.
Okay, we right.
But the last line of that scene is wake
The knock
wake
line.
Duncan with thy knocking.
And then there's knocking,
Knocking.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So the right?
And
Yeah,
the
that's good.
sleeplessness.
Yeah. So we just had like a horrible thing. Porter. Juxtaposition. Designed to be funny. Last night in Winter's Tale, I never ever see the scene with Dion and on the horse. Hilarious. Designed to be hilarious because you need it for a second before you go back in for the second round of terror that's about to happen in the trial scene. You need the breath to go forward, right?
Them say we hope it all turns out.
Yeah, exactly.
well."
Yeah,
So it doesn't.
correct.
In Julius Caesar, when the ghost comes, the last thing that Brutus says, he says, "I will see you at Philippi. I will see you." He says, "Well, I'll see you then," and it's a laugh line.
Right,
You know, a
right.
moment of comedy.
Right. Thank you for that. Okay, Porter, and then the world tumbles in, right? Discovery. It is Malcolm. Macduff comes in.
Macbeth and Ross. Lennox.
Ross, all those Thanes. Yeah. I've run out of colors. Okay. It is interesting if you think, oh my God, I'm one of those Thanes. I'm like Thane number 3.
Oh, wait, Banquo.
Banquo. They're all. We need Banquo, Malcolm, Macbeth. They all kind of show up, right?
Everyone shows up. They're all in their pajamas. Like, what's
Yeah,
going
right,
on?
right. Lady Macbeth shows up. Everybody shows up, right?
This is the same scene.
Yeah.
Is MD Macduff?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is 2-3.
Right? So we have that big da 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 da. Oh my God, murder most foul, right?
Yeah.
Boom. Halfway through, and then what's the decision about that at the end? How do we end that scene?
We
Is it
faint.
Malcolm and Donald?
Malcolm and Donovan decide to go. They go to
They run away.
Chase out?
Ireland.
Ireland. They go to different places.
Do we have?
England
Do we?
and Ireland.
Right? Malcolm and his brother Donalbain exit the scene, right?
The throne open.
Yes, leaving the throne open. Right. And then the next scene is,
Old Man and Ross.
and what do we find out from Old Man and Ross?
The night has been unruly.
Yeah, as if we didn't know that.
There's some crazy shit.
But what else? There's something else.
Oh,
That Macbeth is going to be king?
Yep.
yeah.
Look how fast that happens. Boom. Macbeth is king. Right? Look how fast that happens. Oh my God, you just kind of had an idea over here. Like here, maybe. That happens fast. Okay, let's go into scene 3, act 1, act 3, scene 1. What happens then?
It's like the coronation, like he's king, they've just come out of some meeting.
Is this the banquet scene?
Banquo's about to go out to
Oh, this is my favorite scene. Okay. Okay. Right? Now, let's just talk about the beginning of the second act. Who is Macbeth? He's just kind of like Banquo, he's about to do the deed, right?
Yeah.
So he's just staying a corridor and hasn't done anything yet, but now he has done the deed and now he is king. Right? It's so methodical. Life irrevocably changes all the time for this guy, right? And that's kind of funny into itself. But suddenly we end the second part. We had a king at the end of the first act. We have a new king at the end of the second act. That's like, what kind of pattern's going on here? Okay. 3-1. Is this Banquo? This is we're going to have a big feast. We're all crowned, like the big public spectacle thing. Right? With Banquo, Lady Macbeth, right?
Yes.
And how far away, how long are you going to fly?
Yeah. How far away
Yeah,
do you go?
yeah. Does anybody have the book? Does anybody have Macbeth with them?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so you want,
I don't want a scene synopsis. I want you to read this scene. Okay, hold on a second. Where are we?
Act 3, scene 2?
Act 3, scene 1.
Oh, Act 3, scene 1.
Oh, because the murderers come in.
The murderers are about to come in. Yeah, right after Banquo leaves.
Yeah.
Harder,
Yeah,
gloss,
could you,
eyes.
listen, could you just read, here, just read this from Macbeth, Banquo, just those 4 lines.
Okay.
Do you mind the two of you
Sure.
just read, you and
Yeah.
and
Macbeth,
Lisa,
Banquo.
like from Macbeth, Banquo, okay?
Great.
This is 3-1.
Ride you this afternoon?
aye, my good lord.
We should have else desired your good advice, which still had been both grave and prosperous in this day's council. But we'll take tomorrow. Is't far you ride?
As far, my lord, as will fill up the time twixt this and supper. Go not my horse the better, I must become the borrower of the night for a dark hour or twain.
Fail not our feast.
My lord, I will not.
End of Banquo. Fail not our feast. I will not, my lord. It is one line. End of Banquo is right there. Because Macbeth just caught him thinking he was going to escape somewhere. How far are you going to ride? I was going to get out of Scotland, but I think I'm just going to ride until it's dark.
And he does come to the feast.
He does come
He
to the
doesn't
feast.
fail.
He doesn't feel, exactly, which is the funny. That's funny. But just happened on the line, right? You got to unpack that because that is the end of Banquo. You're just like, oh my God. This, and who comes in right after this? The murderers. Hello.
Who are also funny.
Who are also funny, right? They don't mean to be, but they are, right? Yeah. Right. So here it is. I don't know where that is in the scene, but it's like, boom. That's the end of Banquo. He ain't going to be bothering us anymore, right? And where the heck is the scene? It's here. The banquet is here in this big scene? Yeah. All right, good. All right, let's go. What's 3-2?
Is Banquo gone from court?
The bank?
Is this Lady M?
That's
Yeah,
the
they
cold
am.
scene between them, right?
Yeah.
I don't, isn't it?
So what's he say before the murderers come in, right?
Yeah.
What does he say before the murderers come in? Everybody leave me. We're all going to be by ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Right.
So guess what? Last we checked, Lady M and M were kind of a team. Not so much a team right now. Right? Again, incrementally, bit by bit by bit, he's going to start pushing her away. Right? Here's where it'll land consciously with us, I think.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like, what? And then here's the next scene that says, where is he? Right? Is that what's happening in the next scene?
Mm-hmm.
Where is he? We're like, I got to talk to you. And what does Macbeth say in this scene with her?
Leave me alone.
Don't worry. I got it covered. Don't worry your mind about it anymore. I got it covered. Here they were, partner in greatness. They're no longer partner in greatness. Right? Change. So you got to play. You just got to. I don't know how. You know what I mean? I don't know how to play that in this way, but you just got to change it. Okay. So what's happening in 3-3? Who remembers 3-3?
That's the murder of Banquo.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't take long for that, does it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Banquo, ixnay.
And murderers.
Yep. Your Banquo, right?
Can I return this? I don't want it to get out.
Yeah, sure. Banquo gets an X, right? Okay.
Wait, where's your flayance go?
Flayance goes. Yeah, we got to have some flayance action. So we're also talking about like killing people in this, like the battles. Like that's okay to kill everybody here, right? And right? It's like,
Because it's not murder.
it's not murder, but suddenly we got murder going on. Even it's the same thing. I mean, Macbeth's got these skill sets apparently. He knows how to murder people. Excellent. Okay, so it's just interesting what's going to happen, right? And so
I think also
remember kind of the
much more. It feels like the murders start to get more intimate.
A, B, and more frequent.
love, the nearer
More
love.
frequent, right? So start charting how fast they're going to start coming. Okay? That's also about accelerating and sort of building up speed. Okay, what's happening in the big 3-4? Oh, the banquet. Yeah, okay. And Banquo does show up, does not fail our feast, which is brilliant. Paul, brilliant. And what happens here?
Ghost.
Ghost. Banquo. I think we need a little Banquo with like
Right.
parentheses or something.
No, this is like this.
Oh.
Banquo has
Oh, like I see. Okay, brilliant. Brilliant. And then what happens at the end of this scene?
They all leave.
We get rid of everyone, and then what's the coda?
Something about worse things are coming.
Lady Macbeth takes control of the room.
She does.
She does take control of the room. Great.
Come well to sleep. We are yet but young indeed.
He plots to kill the Macduffs without telling her.
Yes.
We talk about sleep.
Yes.
he can't.
How sayest thou
Wait,
that
he's,
Macduff
in this
denies
scene is when
his
he
person?
decides
Is
to
this
kill
Dearest Chuck scene, or is that the one before?
Well, it could be.
Be innocent of the knowledge.
Yeah, that's
That's
about
previous.
Lady.
That's for Banquo. Macbeth at the end of this scene says, "How sayest thou that Macduff denies his person at our great bidding?"
Yeah.
So
When's
he
the last time we
brings
saw?
somebody there.
When was the last time we saw Macduff? Here.
at the murder.
The previous one is about Banquo. It's arguable.
What did we decide?
He brings up
He
Macduff.
plots to go for Macduff.
He also says he's going to go to the Weird Sisters again.
Oh, that's true.
Strange things I have in head. That
Yeah. Right.
I
Okay.
understand.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Macduff leaves. Right. These are important things in this scene. Macduff leaves. Macbeth is king, right? And he's going to try and he wants to get at Macduff. I don't quite know how he gets back to Macduff, but he does. But Banquo's
He
done.
didn't come to the. He didn't come
Yeah,
to
he
the.
just asked.
He doesn't come to the party, right?
He goes
Yep.
to the rebels.
And the witches, right? And what does he say right at the end of the end of that scene?
I'm gonna go to the witches.
Yeah, and I am steeped in blood so far.
So far to wait.
To
I am
go
in blood
back.
still.
To go
Forward.
back would be for.
It's
Okay,
tedious.
so
This is
here's the deal,
tedious.
right? This is Shakespeare just gave it to us, right?
Horses and blood.
This is halfway through the play.
Boom.
Either you go this way, it's not going to be any better,
You better
or
go
you just go
forward.
forward.
Right.
And you go forward with the momentum of that, you're going to take everybody with you, right?
Right.
And that's the second half of the play.
Dump
So
the
that
world.
is how the first half ends, really. Even though, I mean, some people try to, the segmentation of these acts, I don't know how they came about, but it just emotionally, right? We've kind of hit the high point in a way, and everything now is going to happen all over. It's all going to happen all over again, okay? So I'm going to make this the halfway point, and I'm going to draw this little line for you. Look at this, what we can do with just, a little cardboard. And if somebody would design an app for this, it would be fantastic. Okay? So, right? And this is act 2, just to segment it, just to kind of give you where are the breath parts, right? Just sort of, you see how it's kind of building? Boom, intermission. All right? What happens after intermission? Oh, right. Guess what? What began our play? Oh, we're coming back around the second time, right? Anybody remember that Hermits song about Henry VIII? A little bit faster, a little bit worse. Second verse, right?
Same as the first.
Same as the first, a little bit faster, a little bit. We're showing our age, Olivia. Okay, so, Hecate comes in, right? Witches, right?
Right.
What's the second scene?
Some lords, Lennox and some people.
It is,
Lennox and a lord and a lord.
and what's the information that we get?
The rebels are gathered.
Right?
Yeah.
Information in this scene too, right? Like status quo,
And
right? We're back to status quo. We're gonna start building this all up again, right?
Right.
Status quo. What's happened? Where's everybody, right? What's that third scene?
It's gonna be the same as.
Witches,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, I know how to do that. All right, I got it. I'm getting it now, right?
It's the appearance of all the ghosts.
Yep. Which is bigger than it, right? Which is bigger than what they did the last. They have to really they got to top themselves.
So they
If you come back around again, you got to do something different, right? Bigger? I don't know. Different? Kids. Yeah, very good, right? Witches? What's 4-2?
Is that the murder?
Macduff?
Oh, yeah, they
Macduff, I
did.
think that might be Lady Macduff. Yeah.
And what does he say at the end of this scene? I'm going to surprise the castle,
Yeah.
right? Boom. Done. It's really fast. He's not spending any time. He's not wasting any time. He's knocking everybody off one at a time, right? Okay, and then, listen, you're looking at this scene, you're looking at this play, and you kind of go, oh my God, what is this? It's by far the biggest scene in this play. You're like, oh my God, I'm tired, and what the hell is happening in this big scene? Right? This is the big Malcolm and Macduff scene, right? And what the hell is happening in this big scene?
Malcolm's, it's deciding to not be king, and then Macduff's convincing him, and then Malcolm was gonna do it the whole time, and that whole thing, right?
Yeah, I cut it to 4 lines once, but
That is Malcolm says, I don't want to be king, but he's just testing Macduff, and then Macduff, says, proves himself worthy, and Malcolm's like, all right, let's go.
right.
And then
Meanwhile,
Macduff gets some
Mac-
bad news.
It's Flayons.
Macduff has left, right, to do that.
His first follower.
Say again. Macduff is,
His first follower.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah, in some
Right.
ways, yeah.
yeah, right.
He wants to make sure that Macduff is on his side. He's worried that Macduff is not on his side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's right. And then what happens? And then what happens?
Macduff, yeah, Ross.
The
And
rebellion.
Ross comes in at the end of that, yeah,
And tells him
about his kids.
his servants, his
The
guests,
rebellion is
everybody they
motivated.
could find. gone.
Yeah, right. And boom, we're into Act 5.
Come,
Everything's
go, King, our power is
everything.
ready.
Boom. We got
What
the.
do they- sorry.
We have to find out about like all the Edward and England is like going to come and help and blah, 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 blah. Boom.
Is
We're into the Act 5 where it's all going to get played out.
Is
It's
Burnham
all going to get played out.
brought up in that second witches scene?
No.
When is Burnham
Oh,
brought up?
yeah, in one of the predictions? Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
one of the predictions, yes. Right?
Charmed one.
Right? So you're bringing in Macduff, Burnham Wood, and one other thing. Woman born, right?
Right,
And the lineage of
right, and the
Banquo's
lineage
kids.
of the
Yeah, that just incenses him more. But so one thing at a time, he's going to try to, right? Okay. So it's all being lined up to just ride the rails. All right, what happens in 1?
Doctor and Lady
Sleepwalking.
Macbeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gentleman.
Yeah. Right? And last we saw her not so happy.
And
Alone.
in the pocket.
And alone. That's when
Isolated,
he
Yes.
said go
then
alone.
mad,
Yes.
then
Right.
suicide.
Here's the interesting thing. She exits the play around the same time that she enters the play. She frames it in a weird way. It's creepy weird the way that happens, but okay, 5-2.
The Lord's Caithness Angus.
Oh yeah, here we go with the thing. We're going back and forth now, right? Are we outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside?
Well, then at the end, it's all battle. Right?
When's Macduff knock him off? Is it 9, 8, 9, 8? 8?
Yeah. Because it comes in with his head in
Right, and this is Malcolm saying, "Hey, yay, we're gonna all be earls, and everybody's gonna behave, and we're all gonna play nice, right?
Please stop killing each other.
Please stop killing each other." This is Malcolm, right? And this scene here was all like, "Hey, we've got it all solved. We're all gonna be nice." And some productions say, "Well, wait a minute, can we add?" There's always sometimes a little postscript. You can see why people would say, "Can we add the witches right at the end?" Just to say, really, what's happening next, right? So you can kind of see how this kind of falls into place, right? And then it's just tumble. Now, the fun thing to do as an actor in this is like, where do you tumble? If you're a Thane, when do you leave Macbeth? Macduff is the first to peel
Kamala
off.
Harris is president.
And Ross is
Right?
next.
Macduff is the first to peel off, but Lennox, Ross,
Takes a while.
they take a while. But they do
Gather
peel off.
Yeah.
And following that, it's like a one by one, and it takes a lot of energy to knock off a tyrant.
the old man sets off.
Right? Yeah, right? So this is kind of like what mapping would do. So this is like the first phase of mapping it. And just sort of have a sense of like, what's happening? Who's coming? How is it coming? It's a little bit like working on a musical backstage where you have like the list of songs. So you kind of know like where you are in the story. And then we would go in and we would look at words and we would look at language use and we would look at like when are they doing this and when are they doing that and all that kind of stuff. And so you just kind of go more granular and you become really more knowledgeable about how the play works and why it works the way it works by understanding sort of the juxtapositions and contrasts and stuff like that. I mean, see, it couldn't be more simple really. But I think it's kind of useful and sort of effective. But I like to do this kind of thing where you just kind of build towards something and then everybody has to figure out how to fall down. It's emotionally, it's not necessarily, because some people would say that really the structure of the play doesn't really happen. I mean, maybe it happens when Duncan is bopped off, like, oh my God, the whole play is set in motion. Kind of is, but it's really after the death of Banquo, where the cost of it is too great. And what you have is he's killing women and children in the second half, right? Mm-hmm. He's not just killing like political enemies. Now it's women and children, and that's like everybody's got their line, right? It's like, oh, that's too far. It was okay to knock off Banquo and the king, but now you've You've gone too far, right? And so it's all kind of woven in, and it's very, very intricate, as you can see. And everybody has a part to play in terms of carrying the story forward. So that is like as basic as this exercise gets. And I hope it's kind of interesting to sort of look at it that way. It is a fact. These are the facts of this play. You can't really, well, you could argue with the director about it, but really it's the facts of the play, right? And so how much energy, this is the scene that's going to drive you crazy. Like, what do you do with this one, right? And you can see it. You see it coming. And you see that, oh my God, there's all these scenes here. How am I going to, like, you see it. Just to sort of a pragmatic matter as a performer, how do you prepare to be a part of that? And how do you, like, it's like double Dutch jump rope, right? How do you get in there and not mess up the rhythm of it, right? But if you kind of know where you have to head next to how you have to enter and how you have to exit, I think it creates a smoother ensemble. I don't know. Nobody's ever followed this, so I have no idea if it works. It's just something I've been doing for a long time.
Do you imagine a book with all of these printed ahead would be useful?
No,
is
that's
it the
why I don't want to do
process of
it.
doing
It's
in a
process
group together that's
process of doing it in a group that's useful. Yeah, which is why I don't know how to. I've been doing a thing with Romeo and Juliet where you know, in Grey's Anatomy, the old-fashioned where you see like the bone structure, the muscles, they have all those acetate, like, you know, you see through the whole thing. So I've done Romeo and Juliet in like 8 different layers. Plot, characters, like follow Paris, follow the word, and then you put it all together and you go, oh, look there's Romeo and Juliet. So that's as far as I've gotten. I don't know what to do with it really. It's about, could we all do this exercise together before we go? Just all agree on what we're going to take on, and then go from there. I mean, that's really what I'm interested in.
And
Yeah.
is the fried hag the pyramid?
Yes. Yeah. I have done it. It's not. There's other ways to do it. It depends. It's just there's so many characters here. Sometimes if there's only like 5 or 6 characters in your basic contemporary play, I can kind of do things like on an Excel spreadsheet, and you can kind of see how the proportions of the scenes work and how long things are and when things repeat, and you're like, ooh,
I think the
ooh.
symmetry is really interesting.
Yeah.
And the mirrored.
Yeah.
The mirror.
Yeah.
I think that's something that.
In 2009, I did I did the same exercise we're doing in the festival, which is we started with 2 gentlemen of Verona, and we worked our way through 2 noble kinsmen, and we did this exercise every week. And guess what? Almost all of them are about 50 to 63% where the hinge happens. I mean, it's crazy, crazily consistent. And I say, yes, I get the language. Honestly, I do. But it's not just the language that makes these things very powerful. They're actually well structured. And if you can ride those rails, you will add to my emotional enjoyment and saturation. I think that's my theory.
Louis, will you talk a little bit more about following a word, like horses or blood or honor or tomorrow? Yeah.
Well, there's a couple ways to look at that, Olivia. Sometimes it's like if there are ways to find out what's the most popular word in any of these plays, and sometimes the is not that useful, right? But if everybody kind of has the word, sometimes that's useful. That could be a thematic thing that may need to be pulled up, or if someone keeps repeating that word, where do they have the word? But tomorrow does kind of show up in really, really interesting places before he can finally answer the question of tomorrow, right? And that's just sort of interesting rail to ride, you know. You can always, there's a lot of things you can follow. There's, follow the letters, you follow particular actions, like suddenly, like in this Henry VIII, like all of a sudden there's some pageant that breaks out and you're like, what the hell? What's that got to do with anything? This is really very straightforward, but so many of these plays have so many other kinds of materials in them, right? They've got a lot of song, they've got a lot of dance. What do you do about that? How do you keep that motivated and active?
So you would track the 6 Aristotelian.
Yeah, Aristotelian, sure.
You would track
Look,
those
here's
as
the
well.
deal. Every play has a plot. Sorry, every play has a plot. And all that is simply the arrangement of scenes from one moment to the next. So the arrangement of them. Playwrights select and combine materials and put them in a certain order to get a certain emotional effect. That is their job, period. It doesn't matter what those materials are. But why I like this sequence is this is how time moves, right? This replicates our experience in a peripheral. I want a peripheral view. This is not a peripheral view, right? So what is it that we're going to kind of feel as we go along? So yes, but the plot is always the plot.
Right, the plot, yeah.
Plot is always the plot. Characters and action is always characters. That's what we're going to follow, right? There are yes, you need it. Like suddenly you got to have a big fat battle, right? And it's the end of the night. How long does this battle have to be? I got to say that Hamlet that we did just recently with the like dun dun stab was kind of awesome. Like really, at the end of the play we have to have a 5-minute battle between the two people who are exhausted as well as we. Is it really needed? I don't think so. My own personal opinion, but it's just like there is some spectacle. There are things that happen, right? And when are people disguised? When are they not disguised? I mean, there's just lots of different ways to like unpack what the actions are as you go along. But just looking like who's in the scenes and following just who it is and the patterns of that already gives you a sense of how complicated this really is and how much of an ensemble piece it really is. Mm-hmm. And you have to be an ensemble. You have to think ensemble based with these plays. That's not necessarily true of, I don't know that I think Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is an ensemble piece. I think maybe it's 4 people like talking among, to themselves, right? And every once in a while they crash together. And that's, then there's some flourish and then we pull away and then they talk, right?
Right.
Time is also a very interesting thing. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf lasts 3 hours and that's the actual time, right? Romeo and Juliet lasts 4.5 days and that's important, right? How do you build urgency? How does he build urgency in the language? I don't know how long this play takes place. I don't know that I know that. I don't know if it matters, but public and private matters. Daylight and light matters, right? Because the private and what people say in private and what they say in public, hugely different thing, right? And the urgency and the stakes of that, all that has to be played. And you play all that and it's just lively and you're like crisp, 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 right? So I think that just kind of helps give a sense of like what you can, what the ground on which you stand on to then play whatever you want to play. But if you don't continue to change where you are at the beginning of a scene, soliloquy, act, half, play, you're losing a great opportunity that's built into these plays to keep them lively and really active and interesting. My sense. Yeah, Jeremy.
I'm curious about the way you use this in a conversation on a new play. You mentioned earlier to discuss with the playwright, these are the facts, and here's where I'm tripping up.
Yeah. It's the same, except I don't always use this. I sometimes just kind of spread it all out to just kind of, I want to show how often the same conversation can show up, or I want to show what I think is missing that has been set up, right? We are learning like so much in these first 4 scenes. Everything in the play, in some ways, has been given to us. The new piece of information is Lady Macbeth. That's the newest piece of information in this play, right? So once she enters, all the pieces are there that we need, right? But we're learning an awful lot. So where is that? How does that pay off to lead us somewhere? And how's it going to end? And where do you get distracted? Because we all get distracted. I mean, maybe he gets distracted here a little bit. I don't know, right? We all get distracted. But if you kind of say, look, wait a minute, here's what you set up. And here's what I think is going to happen. And I'm fine if you change that. But I need to have a roadmap. I need to trust that it's not just going to go off on its own, right? So it's more about just kind of reminding, but somehow like putting it in like little code like this versus like in an email. It says, you know what, I got bored when this seems more believable. In fact form, it seems believable. Like, oh, right, I set that in motion, didn't I? Yeah, so what happened to it?
Yeah, it feels like such a wonderful way to have it not be your opinion.
Yeah, it's totally objective-ish.
Got a
Yeah.
very patient question.
Carlo.
Do you
Shakespeare actually mapped his plays before he wrote them? Or
No,
was
there's
it just
absolutely
in
no,
his head?
no.
Impossible.
Structure.
Look, Carlo, I believe in Mozart. And I was just writing this in my blog this morning, so sorry. But you know in that play Amadeus, right? Salieri is pissed off. Like, what an immature asshole. And then some music is played and he goes, and then there's that. You cannot analyze it. You could try, we tried, and still and yet it's going to be above the. So I believe that there was something about that particular person. He was able to code in a way that hits us on all emotional levels.
And it was
Like music and poetry together, right? Music is the fastest way to get us emotional. Poetry is the shortest way of information. And theater is both. Certainly Shakespeare is both, right? So honoring those, that's the job. Yeah.
Mark Van Doren writes that if the plays of Shakespeare had been difficult to write, if he had tried for structure, they would have been impossible. It was, as you say, downloaded.
Yeah, but he does follow a pattern. I'm just saying to you that this is a formula. You can look at all of these plays this way.
He charted by accident.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody here old enough to have written a paper on paper? I remember stacking them up and arranging them and looking at the floor and then building piles, and it's like, how long is this piece? I mean, I'm picturing him in a big room with his script laid out on the floor, visually, in a way we would never do today with the word processor.
Yeah, I think he was very. I think.
by accident.
Yeah, but I think he was very sequential. Actually, he knew what he set in motion, and he just went out to then answer everything he set up. I honestly believe that.
If you do a Grey's Anatomy overlay, which is the supernatural,
Yeah.
and the aspiration towards that which is above,
Yep.
and the descent
Yep.
towards that which
Yep.
is below,
Yep.
and
And the
I
royalty
think-
within that, like
Yep.
the ascent towards kingship or whatever.
yeah,
Well, that-
the
we're not even talking about themes
the
yet.
meaning of what grace is in the individual and in the
Yeah.
community would be an interesting overlay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just haven't even gotten to theme. This is just like the action. Like what happens?
The theme totally comes out of the action. Too,
Absolutely.
Which is so beautiful. about
Absolutely.
this, and the idea of like the relationship between the conscious and the unconscious mind, and sleep and sleeplessness.
Yep.
In the play is then becomes part of it. But I really like this idea of like the scenes are like tarot cards or something. That when they're, I don't know if anyone reads the cards, but if they're put next to each other, they're like sympathetic or unsympathetic, funny or unfunny, like that.
Like the
They
sleep
let the
card and the
medium shift.
dagger for
Yeah,
murder. And,
yeah,
oh, that would
yeah.
be cool. You could have a little kit. Like the cards, the plot cards in Shakespeare. There's going to be death. There's going to be someone kisses. There's like.
Write your own Shakespeare play. Yeah, right. Yes, probably wouldn't work. Anyway, that's the basic charting thing. So, thank you all very much.